Cameron watches every single one of Chatz with Charnie video.
I am your biggest fan.
Welcome everyone to Chatz with Charnie. This week we're continuing with our series South Africans Abroad. This week we're traveling all the way to the Jersey Channel Islands, where Cameron's going to be giving us a bit more about his experience about living there. So welcome to Chatz with Charnie, Cameron. Thank you so much for being on the channel. Please tell the viewers a bit about yourself.
Okay, hi Chanel, I'm Cameron. But before I start, I just want to take a minute to say I'm so excited to be on Chat with Shawnee. I think I've told you multiple times what a fan I am of you, this channel, and just everything that you stand for. So thanks for having me here today. Okay, so now I'll continue with my intro. Okay, so like I said, I'm Cameron. I'm from Cape Town, South Africa. Um, I moved to Jersey Channel Islands, and I'm currently working for one of the big four audit firms. So yeah, that's me.
Oh, nice. And thank you so much for what you said about Chatz with Shawnee. Cameron's group is actually one of the reasons why I started Chatz with Shawnee. When I say mean group, I mean the people that he studied with at UWC, because they were the first group of people that I tutored actually. So they are the inspiration behind Chats with Shawnee. So Cameron, tell us, why did you choose the Jersey Channel Islands?
Okay, so I actually didn't even know about Jersey until like late last year or mid last year. I think for the longest time, like I was just convinced it's gonna be London for me. Like that's just always been like a dream for me to move to London and all that jazz. But then like up until last year, like I spoke to one of my former colleagues that moved to Jersey, and she kind of sold Jersey to me with a slower paced lifestyle, walking to office, and that it's somewhat of a tax haven, but we can debrief on that a bit later. So like eventually I started liking the idea of living on an island. Like I know it's not first prize for everyone. I know you and some of your other guests were like, I don't see an island for myself. But each one to his own. Like I think what kind of makes Jersey different is that it's not an island in the middle of nowhere. Like it's very close to Saint Malo in France. Like you can take a 1 hour ferry to there. And London's also quite close. It's like a 35-minute flight to Gatwick Airport in London. So I was like, we still kind of have the best of both worlds, and I can have that island experience for myself, and it's not in the middle of nowhere, so it's quite close to the EU. And the one other thing that I didn't bank on coming here, like from watching like season one of your videos as well, like everyone was very happy in the countries or wherever they are in Europe, but like one thing that kind of came up was that not the people weren't as warm or friendly as people back home. So when I came here, I was like, okay, don't take anything personal, Cam, if people's not friendly and things, but like to my pleasant surprise, I think that people are even like nicer here compared to home. Like every day something happens, and I'm just like, how is this normal? The way people are so nice. Like I promise you, I've met so many people here that have like gone out of their way to help me. And like someone was telling me to describe Jersey, and I'm like, it's literally shit Creek meets Milan meets Europe. Because when I see Milan, it's like just like that community feel where everyone's looking out for each other and trying to help each other. Like my flatmate's dad came here the other day, saw me with a Chelsea shirt, and he was like, I'm going to organize a season ticket holder pass for you. And I was just like, anyone that knows me know what a fan I am. So, like, just for a stranger to meet me, like, in 10 minutes and doing the most for me. And, like, I went to a coffee shop the other day here just to have breakfast, and there wasn't, like, much seats left and tables outside the cafe. And this random lady just came in and said, can I sit there? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, to you. And then she started chatting to me and telling me about her life. So, like, that's the vibe here. I feel like people are just friendly and like want to get to know each other and help each other. So like with all that said, like I think I definitely made like the best decision for myself because I get the perks of being able to leave easily if the walls ever do feel like it's closing in. But like so it's just like amazing so far, and especially the people. I think the people's probably the biggest win in my decision to come here. So yeah.
That is awesome. Not a lot of people, and as you know from season one, have experienced that, because usually locals aren't that friendly or want
Yeah.
to help you or anything like that. So that is an amazing experience. And what I really think that people should take out from the story as to why you chose the Jersey Channel Islands is that even though the UK was where you wanted to be, you like went for the second best option, and you're still able to experience life in the UK by taking a short trip there, as well as having a bit more of a chilled lifestyle and maybe even a cheaper lifestyle in the
Yeah,
Jersey Channel Islands. So I want
definitely.
the viewers watching to take note of that, take that advice. There's many other countries that can go to that's perhaps close to your main place that you want to be to, and it can be a stepping stone for you to get there eventually.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
Cameron, let's get into the nitty gritty details about your transition
Okay.
over to a new
Yeah.
world. So, tell us, what was the process and what was included in the process for you to move from South Africa to Jersey?
Okay, so like I said, one of my former colleagues referred me, and then after the interview, obviously you speak to the company and they have this relocation package for you. But then there's a lot of admin things on your side that you would have to do as well. So I think starting maybe with the passport, like I never had a passport because I just never left South Africa before this. So like I had to initiate that process, and like it was a bit daunting because with the home affairs back home, like who knows when you're gonna get help and get your things back. So but then after doing the research, I saw that some of the banks have partnered with the Home Affairs back home. So that kind of made the process easier in terms of getting an appointment and the efficiency of everything. So there's a Home Affairs website where you can make a booking. Like I'll maybe share the link with you after this and you can pop it in here.
Awesome. Yes.
So
Thank you.
yeah, yeah, so on the Home Affairs website, like I banked with Standard Bank back home, and then I selected them as an option, and then the you get an appointment very quickly. So once you have that appointment, but it's important that you bank with them. If you don't, you won't be able to get an appointment through like not FNB, Standard Bank or ABSA. So in order for you to get this easier process, you need to be banking with them. So it might even be a case of just opening a bank account and getting it done with them instead of going the traditional home affairs route because it might just take like months longer probably. So yeah, after that, like I got my passport back like within a week, which is a very fast turnaround time. Yeah, and then after that, there's a bunch of things you have to do. So to get to Jersey, you need a UK visa. So that's why I'm able to travel to London and the rest of UK so easily because the Channel Islands are like common travel area for the UK, so you can travel in between with your UK visa. So in order to get the UK visa, there's a bunch of admin things you have to do as well. So the TB test, like this was a thing for me that I didn't plan properly because you can't just go to any doctor and get the TB test done. The UK only works with like one place that does this TB test, so I'll send that link as well. So with the Cape Town branch specifically, like the appointment times can take like anything up to 3 months. So you need to be proactive. So let's say you're in your third year of articles now and thinking of coming in Jan or March, depending on when your articles start. Like maybe try it November, December to set up this appointment. And I think you can do it 6 months ahead of time just to make sure that you have it because getting an appointment because it's only one place that does it in the UK, the appointments like fill up pretty quick. So for me, I couldn't get an appointment in Cape Town and I had to fly to Durban to get the appointment.
Oh,
Luckily, my company here covered the cost for that. But like I said, like if I had been more proactive, I wouldn't have had to fly to Durban to get that TB test. Yeah. And then the other thing that the UK kind of wants is this English test where you have to write an English test to prove that you are equipped to speak this language. Because back home we have like 11 official languages, so I'm not sure if that's where they're coming from. But the alternative to that is contacting your university to provide you with a confirmation to just confirm that all of your modules and exams were taken in English, and then the cost is a bit less, but you still pay about between 3,000 to 5,000 rand for that. So,
oh
like
wow.
I said before, this the TB test was 2,500. The English test is 3,000 rand. If you want the expedited version, let's say you have to leave the country soon, they do have an expedited option where it can take like 5 days max, and then you just pay extra 2,000 rand. But like I said, everything just costs money, so it's not like the expedited version is free.
Cameron, just to ask a question on that
Yeah,
before you obviously carry on.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
did your company cover these costs, or was it something that you had to pay out of pocket?
Yeah, so that's the thing. Although they do cover the cost, you still have to have these amounts like upfront because you have to pay for it, and then when you get here, maybe like 2 weeks after you started working, they start reimbursing you for these costs. But so like thinking ahead for a move like this, you need to start saving because all of these costs come at you all at once, and you just have to pay out these big amounts for all of these admin things that you need to complete in order to make the move abroad. So yeah, so I think after the TB test and the English test, those are the biggest like admin amounts before doing your actual UK visa, which once again costs like 13,000 rand. So
What did you say? What did you say?
13K exactly. So all of these
Oh
costs
my
just keep
word.
adding up. So I think after the visa, however, like you're good to go unless your company doesn't pay your flights upfront. Like for me, like they paid my flights upfront, which was great because I'm sure like a direct flight from Cape Town to the UK can cost like 15K if you're lucky. There's different routes to get there. If you
That's
take connecting flights, it would obviously be cheaper. But for me, luckily it was with British Airways. I actually fainted on the plane. I forgot to tell you.
true.
It was a fun experience. Like I literally thought it was gonna be so easy because a direct flight is less hours. It was about 11 hours. Like I was perfectly fine. 10 hours I was asleep, enjoying the experience. In my last hour, I just woke up like hot flashes and just feeling drowsy and noses. And I'm like, Lord, please, it's one more hour. Don't embarrass me by letting me throw up on this plane.
Was
And I
it
had
your
to,
first time flying though?
no, it wasn't my first cruise, but locally I flew like but internationally like it was my first long flight, I guess. So I don't
Okay.
know if that was the case. I just
Maybe.
remember I just remember thinking I need to get to the bathroom now because I can't throw up on this girl sitting next to me. I unhooked myself. I'm like, okay, Cam, just get to the bathroom now. I get there and the door's locked. I'm like, Lord, why have you forsaken me? And then there was this kitchen spot like right next to the bathroom, and I just remember making my way there. I had this plastic cup in my hand, probably to throw up. Like in chaos, I was still trying to be responsible, and I just saw myself going down. I'm like, okay, here we go. I fainted. Woke up like a few minutes later. Someone has my feet in the air. Someone has an ice pack on my face, and everyone's. It's a shame they were so nice, trying to reassure me. They're like, sir, it happens to the best of us. I'm just thinking this does not happen to other people.
The color in you is like, yeah,
No, really,
almost an egg.
it was just 1 hour. Why always be? No, really, but like I remember they were like, "So, are you okay now?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay, now I'm fine." Yeah, so that was definitely interesting for this move. Like, it's so weird because I wasn't even nervous or anything. I was just like excited, obviously a bit sad at the airport, but on the plane, like, what things happen, and it's so on brand for something like that to happen to me. But yeah, we here now living life.
Okay, wait, Cameron, you unfortunately didn't have time to finish, or you didn't finish what you wanted to say
Oh
earlier.
yes, wait, where was I? Sorry. I think the last thing I said was 13K for the UK visa. I
Yes,
think that shocked
13K for
everyone.
the UK visa.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was the last major cost, and then the flights. So if your company doesn't pay for your flights, that's an additional cost you might need to save for coming here. And then obviously, like that's all your SA costs, and then when you get here, it's accommodation, which is another story. So yeah, I don't know if we should dive into that now.
Yes, so yeah, next question is
Okay.
what was the accommodation cost like? How expensive is it for like a one bedroom apartment? Is it more viable to have roommates, live with others instead of living on your own? What was
Yeah.
that experience like?
Okay, so it's definitely expensive, and I do feel like you would be able to afford a one bedroom apartment. The onus is obviously just on you to ensure that you have money saved up for your initial first month's rent and your deposit because you wouldn't be earning a salary the first day that you get here. However, you would get a relocation allowance, so you need to be smart with your finances and planning all of that because your rent is going to be your biggest cost. Like I think for most people, no matter where you go, that can take up a third or half of your salary, even depending on what you end up with. So rent here for a one bedroom apartment is anything between 1,200 to 1,400 pounds. So that's about 24,000 to 28,000 rand, which is a lot compared to South Africa. I'd probably be living in camps if I'm paying that amount back. Yeah,
Probably yes,
so
but it is relatively reasonable when you compare it
yeah,
to the rest of the North. When I say the North, I mean the United States, Europe, and the UK.
yeah. No, definitely. That's why I said like you would be able to afford a one bedroom apartment, but it's still pricey, and I think it would be a bit of a shock to people coming from South Africa because rent isn't this prices back home. So yeah, but for me, however, like I opted for like I didn't think I'd be able to share with someone because when I did articles back home, like I've always lived on my own and I was comfortable, so I didn't even factor a roommate into my plans when I got here. But then, luckily, I have some South Africans on the island as well, about 5 people from back home that are here, so they kind of showed me the ropes and how shares online and things, and then I saw a nice house online, and this guy's flatmate just moved back to Portugal, and he was looking for someone, and I met him, seemed cool, and I liked the place, and like I promise you, it's the best decision I could have made because I'm saving probably like £400 now. If I, that's a lot of money to save compared to what I would have given out on an apartment, and it's not just moving in; you have to furnish this place, get a bed, like
Goodness.
basic things to live. Like it's not just you moving into an empty apartment. So there's a lot of things to factor in, and I was just like, I don't want to be overwhelmed now. I mean, when I got here, there was a bed in my room already. Everything is fully furnished. Like I'm basically moving into his house and just living my best life. So like I
Living
think
your
that's
best
really
life
been
and saving £400 a month.
exactly that's another my travel kitty fund. Yeah, so that's kind of the rent situation, but it is very competitive to get a place. Like you could see a listing now and then you come back later tonight and then it's no longer there. That's how quick properties go here. So I think it's important to be proactive. So maybe even before you get here, like luckily for me, I got here 2 hours before my start date, so I had time for all of these admin things. But if you're not in that position, maybe like in your last 2 weeks before moving here, like start going on the sites and contacting the agents to just arrange and say, look, I am interested in this, and they would be willing to do a video call with you to show the place and things. So I think like that's probably the best way to go about it before getting here. Then you know, okay, when I get here, I'm sorted. And my company gave me 2 weeks accommodation to settle in, so that was kind of nice as well. But everyone's different. Like I know some other firms rather give you a bigger allowance instead of providing with accommodation. So whatever company you go with in moving abroad, just factor all of these things and make the best decision for yourself.
So basically, make sure you have sufficient amount of funds in your bank account before you start this process. And you're
Exactly.
saying, 13K for visa. You're talking about 25K for rent for the first month. Well, is that just for the first month or is that plus deposit? So we're talking about another
No, that
deposit.
yeah. So it's
So
the
that's about
that's your first
50K.
month. Yeah, it's about 50K if you're lucky because, like I said, it's between 24 to 28,000 rand for one bedroom. So times that by two for your deposit and your first month's rent.
So that's 50K plus another 13K to takes you to 63K. Plus,
Yep,
you said your TB thing was like what,
two
three,
five.
two,
Yeah,
five? So
2005.
you're already
Yeah,
at 65.5K.
yeah. We climbing to that 100K figure now.
Oh my goodness. But I
Yeah,
think this is really good because a lot of people don't know how much they have to save before they have
yeah,
to move abroad, before they want to move abroad. And I mean, obviously, if you're one person, I think you need to think about between 50 and 100K to
yeah,
save, 75,000 to save. If you are a family or if you have a husband or wife, if you have a spouse, then you're going to have to increase that amount because you might want a two-bedroom apartment. You might
yeah,
not want to share with other people. Um, and some people even want 2 months rent as a deposit. For example,
yeah,
in as like in the US, if you don't have a lot of credit, if you don't have a credit history, then they want you to pay more as a deposit. So you need to take all those things into consideration. And it's really great advice that you said to look beforehand and get into
yeah,
contact with real estate agents or people that can show you the property via video call and things like that. That's a very smart move. So thank you for sharing that advice.
yeah, sure.
So we've gone through the process of you are now, you went through the process of getting your visa, you're living there, but let's backtrack a bit and let's go to how long did it take you from the time that you applied for your visa or you got the job to actually landing in Jersey? What was that
Yeah.
time period like?
Okay, so for me, I was technically supposed to start here like in April, but for personal reasons, I pushed it out to like 3 months. And then, but after that, I think if everything went according to plan, like at that point in time, the UK visas had the embassy had a bit of a backlog, so they were taking up to 4 weeks. And then for the TB test, if you get an appointment, you get your certificate the same day. Everything happens on the day, so that's like a one day thing. and the English test can take up to max 2 weeks. So if we're thinking 2 weeks plus the 1 day for a TV test, and then depending on the UK embassy, that's about 4 weeks. So it's the 4 weeks plus this 2 weeks and then a day. So I don't know how much months that is. Probably like 2 months.
1.5 months, 6 weeks.
Yeah, it's around up.
Okay, so that doesn't take, that's not a
Yeah,
long
it's not
time.
too bad.
It's quite
Yeah,
easy.
and the other thing, sorry, that I maybe missed was the work permit. But luckily, I didn't have to pay anything on my side for the work permit. Like once I had the English test and the TB test, I forwarded that on to the company, and then they were able to initiate my work permit on this side. And it was very efficient. It took like 3 days, and then the ball was back in my court to just get my UK visa done. So once things start, I think it happens very quickly. So all you need to do is make sure you're ready to say goodbye and have money saved up because once things start moving, like it doesn't stop.
Wow, so that's not a long time at all. And considering the amount of money that had to be saved up before then, I think the
Yeah,
saving needs to be a conscious effort even before you start applying for work then. It's
yeah,
basically at the
definitely.
point that you are applying for the job, you need to have this backup savings already ready to be spent if costs need to be incurred immediately.
Yeah,
So thank you for that. I think that that's very important for people to know the money aspect because I've already had questions, people coming to me and saying like, I don't have money to move over, what do I
mm,
do? And it
yeah,
takes time. All of this takes time, so it's a decision that you need to make and then follow through with like executing a plan.
yeah,
Okay, so
100%.
you're in Jersey, basically you're
Jersey.
in the UK living your best
Yeah,
life, but now food and transportation. You said that
yeah,
one of the selling points was that being able to walk to work instead of having to drive to work or maybe having to
yeah.
public transport. So, what are your food expenses? Do you generally do grocery store shopping or, I've been there, single, living my best life. I'm ordering in every single day, because I can afford it. So, tell me,
Yeah.
what is your lifestyle been like?
Yeah, so I'm not the best person to ask about grocery shopping because, like I said, like I live a very bachelor lifestyle. Take each day as it comes and just live your best life. It's not the most sustainable, but it works for me. But like first, maybe on the transport thing, like I don't take transport to like work. I can just walk here, but every bus here is about £2, which is about 40 rand, no matter where you go. So that's kind of cool. I think you just pay £2 no matter the distance. So for traveling purposes, that kind of what you would give out £2 going to work, £2 going back. So that's about £4 per day for transport costs. And then food wise, so I spoke to some of my other real adult friends here that actually buy groceries and they said they spend about £150 per month on food, on groceries, which is quite reasonable. And then another one of my friends said like he spent it's like £200. So it's all dependent on you. And then with that also is like spending money on buying lunch every day and take out, which could come to another £150. So I guess it's all about you. So if you cut out buying the lunches and things and just buy groceries, £200 should be sufficient to get you
Yeah.
throughout the month. But if you splurge on takeouts as well and buying lunch every day, like that's obviously going to be additional cost. And they said it cost them about £150. I don't know what it's costing me to live this lavish lifestyle that I'm living, but I'm getting by. But yeah, I think a reasonable person would spend about £200 on groceries per month.
Okay. And £200 does sound like a lot of money, I'm not gonna lie.
Hmm.
Even for me, that's gone through the grocery shopping experience.
Yeah.
I think £200 is a lot, but that might also be dependent upon, the diversity of the type of grocery stores that are out there. So are there a lot of grocery stores or is it kind of like just like one chain that people can go to?
So I think like one of the big stores that's here that's from the UK as well is Waitrose, and that's very pricey. It's like Ollie's basically.
Okay,
So
that
there
makes
used to be a Tesco which was a cheaper version, but there were some rules on the island that big grocery chains can't like come on the island for their own rules or whatever. So that kind of phased out just before I got here. But there are other smaller supermarkets like on the island as well. And that's where I genuinely go. There's a lot, like even walking distance here, like 3 minutes or something, where you will get like much cheaper products and stuff. And I know one of my friends that here is Muslim, so like there's not a lot of halal places. So I know that they're battling a bit with that issue. So it's a bit difficult, but like the Alliance store, which is basically the expensive Waitrose. That's where you can get a lot of halal products. So
Okay.
unfortunately, the Woolies here is where you're going to get halal products. But like I said, there are some cheaper shops, but it's all up to preference, I guess. Like some people that like Woolies special goods, like you're going to give out more money for that, obviously. But I'm easygoing, so I don't mind these shops around the corner. Yeah,
Well, it all depends on what you're comfortable with spending and the quality of food that maybe that you want, or maybe the Woolies place sells like food that you can just pop in like the oven or pop in the microwave, which is way easier
yeah,
for somebody living a bachelor or bachelorette type of lifestyle, which makes sense
yeah,
at the end of the day. But if you're like a family or married, you want to be
mm,
like
yeah,
cooking so that you can save money. But that's all relative because people earn different salaries.
yeah,
And I think it makes sense when you think of you're earning in pounds and you're incurring these costs in pounds. So it's not too bad at the end of the day.
yeah,
But something that I do want to take note is that, like Cameron said, when you come on, you're only going to be getting paid like at the end of the month, meaning that your grocery bill for the first month is going to be in rands, right?
yeah.
So you're going to be paying £200 converted to rands, which is a couple of thousands. So again, you need to include that into your budget as well when you're moving abroad. Money to eat.
Yeah, it's very painful to convert that at the end of the month.
Yo, I remember when I was the first time I moved to Ireland, I went to IKEA and I had to whip out my credit card to pay there, and I felt the burn when I got that email with how much money
100%.
it was. I was like, I never want to experience this ever again.
So exactly, just like, can you just pay me in your currency so that I don't have to do this exercise again?
Exactly. So, Cameron, tell us, are there any tax consequences or implications that people need to take into consideration when moving to the Jersey Channel Islands?
Yeah, so on the island, like the maximum tax that you're going to pay is about 20%. So that's why I said it's somewhat of a tax haven, but you still pay some tax. And I think another thing we briefly discussed over a call at some point was that if you don't apply for your tax number soon enough from the government, your first salary will be taxed at the highest tax rate, which luckily is 20%. But if you are supposed to pay less, they are still going to tax you at the highest tax rate. So you need to prioritize getting your tax number from the government. So when you do start with your company, they'll remind you of these admin things again to apply for your social security card and get your tax number and registering with a doctor. That's another frustrating admin thing for me because I feel like back home it's so easy to just get a GP appointment, but when you do move here, you're gonna pay about £20 to just register with one doctor, and that's gonna be the doctor you always go to. So that's another admin thing you need to take into account.
So I'm very proud of you, firstly, for getting to this point from where you've come from. I mean, when the first day I met Cameron, I was bugging him in the study. I was like, "Do you need help? I can help you."
100%.
I was in honors at I was such a forward child. I was in honors, and I think you was like in second year. And I was like,
Yeah,
"Do you need help? I
I
can
was
help."
busy with ethics. I remember, I think you must have been going through it in honest because you were like, "Do you need help?" And I'm like, "No, I'm fine." You're like, "It's gonna get worse after the second year is nothing. Like, it just gets worse in audit." And I was like, "This girl is going through it in honest." She's like warning me of the future. I'm like, "Let me enjoy my easy ethics for now." But no,
Oh
but really,
my
even on that, like before we even close, like I think I want to take a moment to say thanks to you and give you your flowers because I feel like we speaking of BWC now, like there were times when management accounting was physically assaulting me. Like I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And like you have these conversations, like if you had like enough setbacks along the way, like what's the point in just going forward? Like you have a degree, just go work and like you can't endure anymore. But then when you see people like you, Salman, and Alvina prospering and living your best lives, and then like that things like that's a reference point for you to say like, rather it gets better after this. It's not always gonna be like this. So definitely in times when I felt like giving up at BWC, like seeing you guys prospering and living your best lives was like, okay, like if they can do it, I can do it as well. So that's why I say representation is important. Like I think we need to see people that look like us, come from the same places like us, doing the things, so that you can say to yourself, if they can, I can do it as well. So yeah, I just want to say thank you for everything.
You don't gotta make me cry on my own show. You know that, right? Thank you so much. Thank you. Like that is the whole essence behind Chats with Charnie, is to let
Yeah,
people know in South Africa and people that look like me know that, like, hey, I've done it, so you can do it too. I'm also that colored girl that comes from Curls River that went to a colored primary school, colored high school, basically. Settlers.
yeah,
And then I went to UWC and I made it. I worked hard, put my butt on the chair, and just strived to
yeah,
where I am right now. Living the life that I'm living right now. And so as all my friends that have been on this channel. So thank you so much for, just
yeah,
acknowledging that. I think it means a lot to me. And I'm gonna tell them to watch this video and
yeah,
send the snippet to them so that they can also feel like, because like I've told you
yeah,
before, it's not really the achievements that you get in life that say like, oh, you're a top student in this or you're a top worker in this. It's the fact that you've done something to help somebody else succeed in life
yeah,
and for them
and
to
be
excel.
impactful. Yeah,
So thank you very much.
yeah,
And
pleasure.
on that, the last one is Cameron, you've been through all of this and you've excelled in life. You've been through challenges, you've been through failure, and now you're sitting at this point where you're on an island, literally living your best life.
Yeah,
And you've exceeded, I think, not only your own expectations of yourself, but the expectations of your family members and your friends, those people that you've grown up with. So tell us, what advice would you give somebody who's sitting back home in South Africa and has the dream to move abroad and travel abroad, but they're not sure if they can or if they have the means to?
okay. Okay, so two things come to mind. The first thing is like one great woman once said like no great man in the Bible has ever stayed in one place.
No one, absolutely no one in the Bible, which is my book of reference, that ever did anything great, ever stayed in one place for their entire lives.
So if you take it biblical, listen to chapter John. And then maybe another thing for me, I know, like I mentioned earlier, in my 3 months, I kind of stalled, and part of that was obviously a big fear of moving. I feel like I filled my head with a lot of thoughts of why it wouldn't work for me and why I won't cope away from my family and all of these things. But like, I think like I haven't seen much so far, but like in my time here so far, like I have seen a bit, and like I really feel like seeing the world like just changes your perspective on a lot of things, and you grow so much. Like I was such an antisocial person back home and not wanting to do things, but since being here, like number one, like I mentioned, I've lived with someone that I never thought I would be able to. I've been putting myself out there, meeting new people, and because of that, I've met so much people that have gone out of the way to help me and make things comfortable for myself here. And like it's been like 2 months, but I feel like already I've grown so much as a person, like just my perspective and the way I think about myself and confidence wise and things. So I feel like a move like this can only be good for you. And if it's not, like, it doesn't have to be a permanent thing. Like, you can always go home if it's not for you, but like, you'd rather want to try instead of telling yourself should have, would have, could have, like, years from now when the opportunity isn't as available to you anymore because now you've aged and you have a family and it's maybe not as accessible. So, like, I think if you can, while you can, just go for it. And if it doesn't work out, you can always go home. But if it does, like, the sky's the limit.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you so much, Cameron. And I think that's really good advice. A lot of people do have the fear of moving and are unsure if it's something that they can do, especially when you're moving on your own.
Yeah,
Mom's not going with you, your parents, none of your parents are going with you, none of your siblings are there, you don't have any family there. It is daunting. I had the exact same experience. I, on the other hand, couldn't wait to leave, and this is not South Africa. But when I moved over to the US in 2020 or 2019, I was so excited to move. But there's that other point where people are like, I'm not sure if I can do this. I'm not sure if I have what it takes, like to make friends with people. How am I going to move? Who's going to help me? I'm going to have to do all these things on my own that previously other people, my family and friends, have helped me with. So
yeah,
you're very brave and courageous for taking that step of faith and walking outside of your comfort zone. I would say outside of your comfort continent and hemisphere and everything to be where you are now. And you know what? This is not only setting you up for greatness, it's setting your family up for greatness as
Yeah.
well. I think there's another component that you need to think about when you're moving or relocating is I'm going to be an example to people in my life that, are coming after me, like your
Yeah.
nieces, your nephews, your cousins, people who also want to make the move over to another country. They can be like, well, Cameron did it, so I can do it too. There's no difference between me and Cameron. And that's great.
Yeah.
That is an amazing achievement when your life can be an example and a testimony to somebody else to achieve greatness. So well
Definitely.
done on that. I definitely know you're doing that. You've already told me about people being like, wow, I can't believe it. You're such an awesome inspiration and example. And that's brilliant. And I'm super,
Yeah.
super proud of you. Thank you again for being
Yeah.
on Chatz with Charnie. You're an
Thanks.
amazing guest. You made me laugh a
Thank
lot,
you.
which was great. And thank
Yeah.
you for
Thanks
always,
for having me.
like, always supporting Chatz with Charnie. I know I can always
Yeah.
count on you.
100%.
Thank you. Thank you
Thanks so
so
much. It's been a pleasure being here today.
Yeah. And thank you everyone for watching Chat with Shawnee and for watching Captain and supporting him today. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Please give it a like if you did like it and have an amazing day further. Bye.